Welcome. My name is Dr. Ann Perazzelli. I'm here to discuss the topic of imposter phenomenon. Throughout this presentation, I will share the origins, the beliefs, and give examples of the concept of imposter phenomenon. So what is imposter phenomenon? The definition of imposter phenomenon, it is the belief that an individual is a fraud. They're not successful, not because of talent or intelligence or from hard work, but only because they were in the right place at the right time, they knew someone, or it happened by mistake. The imposter phenomenon concept was developed by a clinical psychologist, her name Dr. Pauline Rose Clance. She describes individuals who believe their success is fraudulent. Individuals experiencing imposter phenomenon, or IP, as I often refer to it, believe that they may be talented, they may not be talented enough to achieve success, despite the fact that they're often highly qualified individuals. These individuals are more likely either to project the cause of success outward, they attribute it to external cause like luck, or to a temporary internal quality like effort. They don't equate it with inherent ability. It's especially prominent among people with underrepresented identities. Imposter phenomenon can interfere with a person's mental health as well as their overall functioning. So some examples of imposter phenomenon. Have you ever achieved something and thought you somehow achieved it by accident, that you didn't deserve it, or that you weren't qualified? That's imposter phenomenon. Imposter phenomenon is the student who gets an A on a research paper and insists she can't write. It's the doctoral student who successfully defends their dissertation and thinks it was just luck. It's the employee who thinks HR is going to find out that they can't do their job despite numerous accolades. It's the artist who feels like a fraud charging money for people to buy his art because he simply isn't good enough. It's believing you're a failure despite everything telling you otherwise. It is a deep internal feeling of self-doubt. Where did imposter phenomenon originate? The concept of IP is associated with previous research completed by Martina Horner. She introduced a concept she referred to as the fear of success. In her research, Horner discussed achievement motivation in women, the psychological barriers to achievement, and the reasons women have for avoiding success. Horner explained that women are anxious about achieving success because they expect negative consequences. This could be in the form of social rejection, feelings of being unfeminine, or as a result of succeeding. Horner's exploration of the fear of success is said to believe the foundation for the development of later research that led to the concept of imposter phenomenon. Dr. Pauline Rose Clance first identified the term imposter phenomenon in 1978. Clance described the concept of being an imposter as an individual's belief that they are a fraud and they are successful not because of talent or intelligence, but only because they were in the right place at the right time, because they knew someone, or because they worked really hard. This research was based on Clance's own self-reported imposter feelings and her worries about failing her examinations during graduate school. She initially attributed her IP characteristics to inadequacy. She thought it would dissipate once she gained experience in her field. Later, Dr. Clance shared her personal experiences with IP in her book, The Imposter Phenomenon: Overcoming the Fear That Haunts Your Success. To quote Dr. Clance, she said, "When I was in college and graduate school, I experienced the symptoms myself. Even though I was doing well, I kept thinking that I might fail on the next examination. I was worried that I couldn't keep repeating my successes. I watched many of my friends experience the same feelings. We felt alone however, and did not realize that our experience, the imposter phenomenon, was very prevalent among other high-achieving people. So once Clance began teaching, she heard her students expressing the same feelings of IP. This occurrence prompted her to explore this concept, which ultimately led to extensive research on IP. So since her discovery, she has written numerous lectures and done numerous research, and she's considered the IP expert in her field. So to clarify, there is no one specific type of person who is affected by IP. Individuals suffering from IP can have different careers, backgrounds, skills, abilities. Clance's book provides fictional examples of individuals suffering from IP. In her book, she talks about these individuals and says that they're all afraid they're imposters, that somehow they've tricked others into believing they're more capable and knowledgeable than they really are. None of them is convinced of his or her innate talent and intelligence. They're all concerned that the next time they have to prove themselves or repeat their past performances, that they will fail. Clance shared the imposter profile, outlining the characteristics someone experiencing IP can have. She described these traits as the imposter cycle, the need to be special, the need to be the very best, to be the superwoman or superman, fear of failure, denial of incompetence, discounting praise, a fear of success, and guilt about success. An individual can have just one of these or several of these traits. According to the imposter profile, an individual experiencing several of these traits is likely to have a high score on the Clance imposter phenomenon scale that Dr. Clance created to measure imposter phenomenon. So some estimates, how many people experience imposter phenomenon? It's estimated that up to 70% of all successful people have experienced IP feelings at some point in their lives. These imposters work very hard to prove themselves wrong. They want very much to succeed and to believe in their success. They're continually striving for excellence, striving for recognition, and to show others that they are capable. These imposter feelings are generally well-kept secrets. The people who have them believe they are alone, that their situations are very unique, that no one experiences this but them in this certain situation. And no one else shares the sense of discomfort that they do. Individuals suffering from IP generally are successful. Dr. Clance described these individuals as people who have received objective, verified evidence that they're capable people. These are competent people, and they are in fact successful in their endeavors. Now, there are two different names. You'll often hear imposter phenomenon referred to as imposter syndrome. So what is the difference? Is there a difference? The word syndrome is often associated with a medical diagnosis. So the difference is that imposter phenomenon, it's not a clinical diagnosis. It is a psychological phenomenon. And again, to quote Dr. Pauline Rose Clance, it's a phenomenon experienced by many, and remembering that can help to normalize it. Now I'm going to talk about imposter phenomenon in some different settings. As we've previously mentioned today, over the last 40 years, imposter phenomenon has been studied in a variety of different settings with different groups of people. And that includes students, leaders, and working professionals. So in the workplace, IP has been studied among different professions and different levels. Generally, researchers focus on the fields of education, business, and healthcare. There is a particular attention focused on women in these professions. Women tend to experience these feelings more than men in comparison. Several studies have explored imposter phenomenon in education, particularly in higher education. Primarily, the research has focused on IP in students. So we're looking at undergraduate, graduate, and doctoral level students in colleges and universities. A small number of studies have addressed IP in faculty members, and an even smaller number have focused on IP in higher education staff and administrators. Overall, most of the research conducted over the last 4 decades has shown IP to be prevalent among women leaders across all professions. A number of studies discussed in the literature review indicated that approximately 30% of participants experience feelings of IP. These results include both quantitative and qualitative studies, as well as participants in the corporate world, in the medical and educational settings. The research also includes participants who are students or working professionals. And generally speaking, IP does exist in all settings. Some examples of imposter phenomenon. So since this research began, many well-known women in society have acknowledged experiencing imposter feelings at some point. Former First Lady Michelle Obama, technology executive and author Sheryl Sandberg, social psychologist and author Amy Cuddy, American poet Maya Angelou, and astrophysicist and astronomer Jocelyn Bell Burnell. All of these women, what do they have in common? They have experienced feelings of failure and doubt in their lives, similar to those described in IP. In a 2019 interview with NPR, Dr. Burnell discussed her experience with imposter feelings as a graduate student at the University of Cambridge and how she overcame it. In the interview, Burnell said that because she experienced imposter phenomenon feelings, she was able to make an important discovery that won her supervisor the Nobel Prize. She recounted that these feelings caused her to be more cautious and attentive to her research because she felt she did not deserve to be at Cambridge, and she was going to be discovered and asked to leave the prestigious university. Research and discussion of IP in mainstream media has expanded immensely in the last years. Again, you'll probably hear these feelings referred to as imposter syndrome. So in addition to Michelle Obama and Sheryl Sandberg, other successful women, including singer-songwriter Lady Gaga and actress Natalie Portman, have all admitted to experiencing this psychological phenomenon that makes them feel like a fraud. This phenomenon became a more popular topic of conversation after Dr. Amy Cuddy gave a TED Talk entitled, "Your Body Language May Shape Who You Are." Dr. Cuddy is a well-known and best-selling author. She's a social psychologist, and she's also a Harvard professor. For a while, she had that TED Talk was the most viewed TED Talk. And she's also written a book, Presence, and done a famous presentation in which she discusses the concept of imposter phenomenon, which includes the research by Dr. Clance. So of course, imposter phenomenon is not without its criticism. One of the main criticisms of IP is that it's not a medical or clinical diagnosis. So skeptics believe it doesn't exist, despite researchers like Dr. Clance sharing statistics measuring the feelings and experiences of individuals with imposter phenomena. There was a recent article written in the Wall Street Journal called "For Dr. Biden, Dr. Jill Biden, to drop her academic title of doctor because she has a doctorate in education and is not a medical doctor." So what does this do in terms of imposter phenomenon and criticism? Having an uncertified individual who casts doubt on another woman's accomplishments, it's very distressing. This is the fuel that feeds the fire of imposter phenomenon. Earlier, I mentioned that imposter phenomenon is especially prominent among people with underrepresented identities. So for this reason and the example that I just gave, It may be often ignored among larger groups, and there are criticisms with imposter phenomenon. How to overcome imposter feelings. So maybe you're sitting here and you're thinking you're someone who experiences these imposter feelings, or you may know someone in your personal life, maybe in your professional life, who you think experiences IP. So what can you do to help yourself or someone else? Number one, you can acknowledge imposter feelings, share them with others, talk about it. Number two, you can be aware of biases and microaggressions and educate yourself and others. There is a known correlation between those who experience these imposter feelings and microaggressions. It's important to educate yourself and others to acknowledge that bias and to avoid the microaggressions so that all members of the community can feel safe. Celebrate your accomplishments, the big and the small, and be willing to accept congrats from others. I know that may seem odd written down, but a lot of people don't accept compliments well. So it's really important to be willing to not only acknowledge them, but accept them and celebrate them. Individuals experiencing imposter phenomenon believe they may not be talented enough to achieve success, despite the fact, again, that they are highly intelligent and highly qualified individuals. So celebrate those achievements. Realize that perfectionism does not exist. No one person is perfect at everything, and that includes you. A lot of imposter feelings stem from that belief that we need to be perfect and from the need for perfectionism. And be kind to yourself, a simple one, but a necessary one. As I discussed in the first part of the presentation, these feelings are internal, and they are not a cause of someone else telling you that you are not good enough or a fraud. So the number one best thing we could do is just be kind to ourselves and not put so much pressure to it for these achievements and accomplishments. So let's talk about the future for imposter phenomenon. So just to recap, imposter phenomenon, it's a concept where individuals feel like they're a fraud, like their achievements aren't good enough, like they're going to be found out. Imposter phenomenon, it's a concept that I have personally experienced in the professional and academic environment. I believe it's important to bring attention to these false beliefs that we're not as capable as we seem to think we are. There are already so many barriers preventing individuals from advancing as leaders in their careers. Unfortunately, imposter phenomenon is one of them. And to share some additional information, my dissertation topic included research with imposter phenomenon and women administrators in higher education. The purpose of that study was to understand the leadership environment and experiences of women administrators in higher education, and whether imposter phenomenon was a factor in their experiences in the workplace. The results of the research study indicated that all participants reported experiencing the characteristics of IP. I used the Clance Imposter Phenomenon Scale to measure those characteristics. The intention of this research was to inform the higher education community about the concept of imposter phenomenon, the effects of imposter phenomenon in women leaders in higher education. The expectation is that IP research will expand as researchers continue to explore barriers to career advancement. Sharing more information about these topics will create more interest in researching how to address these obstacles, overcoming these thoughts and beliefs, stop feeling like a fraud, as well as other imposter characteristics, and encourage others to be able to move past these thoughts and these beliefs and ultimately advance in their careers. So thank you for joining me in this presentation on imposter phenomenon. You are welcome to reach out to me with any questions. I am listing a list of some references. Please reach out to me for a complete list of references. I am happy to discuss this topic with you further. And thank you very much.